Okay, welcome everyone to our daily Tanya review. It's a weekly summary we're doing together already in the second part of our weekly summary, which means we're holding already by Perek Vav, which would be chapter 6 in the Tanya. So we've already gone through chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, and began chapter 6. And that was all the way with the intro last week and 25 minutes or so. Maybe 26, depending on Shem Havaya, what Hashem wants. I'm just having some tea. It's cold now, Baruch Hashem, we're in the Chodesh Teves. And according to the different Siddharim of how the Tanya is organized, as looking right now, the Chitas, the actual Sefer Chitas, Chumash Tehillim Tanya, so the Tehillas Hashem, Yom Yom V'chilu. So it says here, Gutamarim, that's the way it calls it in the gatherings of our teacher. Is if it's the Teves Shana Peshuta, so we'd be a little bit more further ahead actually, because it's Shana Muberes. So we actually are moving a bit slower because we have an extra month this year, and this gives us a little bit more of understanding that a leap year gives a little bit more time to internalize the concepts and take it a bit more slowly. But nevertheless, we've already covered in these 2 weeks of Tanya learning the first 6 prochim almost, 6 chapters, and there's a lot there. We're going to actually just read a summary now in Hebrew that I got from David Jerome, and I once again recommend Reb David Jerome's amazing daily classes. I'll put the link below in the description. If I sound a little bit offish, it's just been 8 weeks now for my son, no direct contact, and in Gaza, and just the whole situation is getting to my head a little bit. Feeling a little bit emotional, more than I usually am, and I would like everyone to just keep praying for Baruch Ben Masha or Baruch Ben Eliezer Cohen and all the soldiers of Am Yisrael, and the whole situation should come to a good place. The beginning of Tanya starts off in Perek Aleph, and it says here in the summary that I've kindly got in Perek Aleph, Shtei Nefoshes, the Kol Yehudi Shtei Nefoshes, Achas, Nefesh Behemius, Mikora B'Shorish Ruchni, Samasha'enu Tov Mochilim Va'enu Ra Gomo. So the point is that we didn't mention this last time, but there's a Nefesh Behemius, very important to mention, and if we're doing a summary of the Tanya, and there's a Nefesh Elikus. These are the 2 levels of the soul, and the Nefesh Behemius says the summary, its root is Ruchni Sasami, Sha'enu Tov. Mochilim Va'enu Ra Gomo, but it's not bad completely. And we're coming to Klipas Noga. So the whole real way to understand it is it's connected into the Klipas Noga, which we mentioned as the sort of thin covering that's in some way we could call it neutral. Shabur Ma'orovim Yachad Tovera, and it has within it the bad and the good. So we all know, each person, Morris Nafsho, knows himself, the Nefesh Behemoth that he has, the drives, the hunger, the things that push a person, the survival instincts of the Nefesh Behemoth. There's certain intrinsic aspects we will share, and this is something which obviously needs to be elevated. We need to elevate the Nefesh Behemoth to a higher level through Avodas Hashem. We're going to learn through Tefillah, Lishma, Torah Lishma, connecting ourselves to Hashem. We're going to learn more about this. The thing is, it doesn't really change completely, like long term. You have to really work on it as a process in time. Obviously, the Tzaddikim elevate the Nefesh Behemoth. Us people who, apparently according to the Tanya, is Sefer Beinani. So, are we really a Beinani, or we are less than a Beinani? Because a Beinani is someone who doesn't actually give in, as we mentioned last time. So we're going to have to discuss this, and let's go to chapter base or Perek base, chapter 2. Nefesh Elikis, a Nefesh Ashniya Shebechol Yehudi Hi Chelik Elokam Imam Mamish. We mentioned this last time without mentioning it, calling it the Nefesh Elikis. Kachu Gam Beneshamas and Muchus Biyosis. So one of the things I was making a dagish and emphasis on was the fact that we have this Chelik Elokam Imam Mamish. The Rebbe, you can picture the Lubavitch Rebbe saying Chelik Elokam Imam Mamish. You feel the koach, and it's funny enough that the Rosh Teves Menachem Mendel Schneerson is mamish, but the Nekuda Panemius is that we have a godly spark inside of us, mamish, like in the most real way. And this is connected to the Nefesh Elokis. And even those souls who seem very low, much more low, have this beautiful spark within them. Ki kulam mechubrim im shoroshim elyon ayidei hamoyach Rosha Alpha Yisrael Shabador. And that's what we mentioned, the Rebbe, the idea that every generation has a Rosh B'nai Yisrael, there's this head, the Moyach, that has in it the ability to bring this Chelek Halakam Mamish Begilui and bring it out in the door. And every door there's going to be a Rosh B'nai Yisrael, there's going to be someone, Rosh Alpha Yisrael, the one who's going to be the head of the generation. There's a big klal. In Chabad Chassidus, especially, the idea of the Nossi Ador. The Nitzot Shel Yaakov Avinu is Rosh Teves Nossi. The idea that it's a spark of divinity guiding the generation through Moach Sholach Alalei, very big klal in Chabad, the Moach, the head, the mind, the place where the Nefesh Elokis resides the most, is Sholet Alalei, is ruling on the heart and the heart on the emotions, emotional levels, and all the other aspects of the human being, and specifically Nefesh Behemoth as well. And it's ruling over this whole Kumashlem of Adam, and that brings us to become Kodesh, to really Mekadesh everything we're doing in this world, which is part of what we're learning Tanya for. Now, Gimel, Perek Gimel, the third Perek, Asara Koches, is where we were holding at last week. And Nefesh Elokis Klola Asara Koches, so the godly soul has in it the 10 Koches. Shloisha Koches Seichel, and that's connected to Chochmah Bina Das, which Rosh Teves Chabad. The whole essence of Chabad is working on that level, Chochmah Bina Das, and bringing the Moach to be Sholet on the Leiv. Veshuva Koches of Regesh, and he calls it here the summary that the 7 levels of emotions: Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yisod, Malchus. Koches Ha'ela Hein Keneged Esa Spheres Elokus. Sorry, the writing is a little bit blurred, so I'm just doing my best to read it and to translate it. That these Koches are connected to the idea of these holy 10 supernal divine emanations, which we're going to go on and on about in the Sefer Tanya, and it's very important to connect to them. But one of the most important principles I ever heard was from Morgenstern. Once I had the merit to sit by him a long time ago, before he was like a famous tzaddik, when he used to have a small minyan on Yosef Cairo right at the beginning of the road. He had a little small shul there, still there, that small shul, but it's like a tiny Sephardi basement, I think. And he only had about 10 or so chassidim, and I could go up to him and talk to him. He'd be sitting there, leaning back in the chair, drinking some orange juice or something, or learning Holy Sefer. And I'd come up to one of these big Svarim, Kabbalah Svarim or something, and I'd come up to him and talk to him about my Narishkeit questions, or sometimes some deeper questions, Baruch Hashem. And one of the things he once said is it's so important to not get caught up with the Sfiras Elyonim as to daven to them. You have to daven to the Emunah Peshut, with Emunah Peshut to the Hashem Echad, that we're davening to one God, and these are divine emanations from that one God. But we don't daven to the divine emanations, like we don't daven to Tzaddikim. We daven to the in the merit of the Tzaddik. We always daven to Hashem Yisbarach. We have to constantly remind ourselves who we're davening. Lifnei Mi'amod. Who are we standing in front of? We're standing in front of Hashem Echad. Yeah, Hashem Avaya. Hashem Echad Yishmo Echad, with the one God who was, he will be. Adon HaKol is the master of everything, etc. The kavanas that we are obligated to have is the most important kavana, and thank God most of the we have that inscribed there. Now Shalosh Levushim, this is Perek Daled, important, and once again I would recommend everyone to go to Jerome. He really explains these classes in Tanya, daily classes, very clearly, as well as going to the lessons in Tanya on the Chabad website. I have it to my email box. I don't even have to go look for it every time. It comes every day, and I've had it for years and years, ever since I stopped walking around with the Svarim. Funny enough, I did find a sefer in the Beis Midrash of lessons in Tanya, and the person here was learning it. That each distinction's grades, Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama consists of 10 faculties. That's what we're talking about here. Mavtat etz atzma be'psias levushim, and his clothings. This concept of clothings. Yeah, we learned about this, and that was Perek Shalosh, Perek Daled. Now we're going into the levushim of Elikus. Okay, I'm turning the pages in here. I got it here in front of me as well in the Hebrew edition. It's called garments. It says, translates here, and they're vehicle of expression for the soul. So our friend here must have put some good notes on the side. Thought, speech, action. This is what we're going to get into. Kashim and Abeshis, B'machshava Diba Ma'aseh, Shal Limud, HaTorah v'kiyuma mitzvahs. It's very important to understand that the way we bring alive the nefesh elikis, and it's through machshava diba ma'as, through these clothings. Obviously, there's the panemius of the nefesh elikis, which would be the concept of, we're going to get into that in the next parak, achtas imakosh baruch hu. But the garments itself, by doing with the godly soul, and this is the name of the class, this godly soul, be a godly soul. We have these godly soul. We have to really tune into that part of ourselves, and that's one of the things I think the world, why we need Tanya so much. And I wrote this book, United Souls. We need to have a big thesaurus of the godly soul in the world to guide us out of this mess that we're all in currently and have been for generations. But this is like the climax. Before Mashiach comes, we have to awaken the nitzos of the spark of godliness within us and all of the world. We have to awaken us that's truth, that everyone has a soul, and if not, then they're not alive. The key to the humanity's success in the future, and it's not discussed enough. And all these podcasts, all these geniuses, they don't tune into the fact they have a godly soul, the fact they have connection to such creative wisdom to come up with all this amazing technology. Is because their soul is gifting that wisdom. The problem where they go wrong is they don't give credit back to the godly soul. The godly soul is the key to machshava diba ma'asa, to the way we think, the way we speak, the way we act. And what our mitzvah will bring is the Torah mitzvahs of Torah, 630 mitzvahs, and we have to do this through all the different clothing of the soul. I want to mention something about Torah, that with his power, he comprehends all these capable of understanding in the pardes, the 4 levels of Torah. Now, this is really, really important. We're learning today in Shamayim and Rav Shlomo's Kolel, Rav Shlomo Katz's Kolel in Machon, Zmir Ta'aretz, run by Rav Yosef Bornstein, and we have a Shir Klali. And over there we discussed, he's someone who has big wisdom of the Rebbe and Tanya, but he wasn't nevertheless quoting that. He was quoting Chazal and Rishonim and Achronim about the importance of, in terms of the Kedushas based Midrash, depending on the kind of Torah you're learning, if it's Ayidei Maisa, Pasuka, Halacha Pasuka, different inyanim. And one of the things I mentioned to a few of the people there, and I mentioned it in Shamayim yesterday as well, that if you learn Hilkas Talmud Torah, so this is my verse as well today, Yitzhak, I've forgotten his last name, Isaac, I think Isaac Septus, something like that. And he's one of the anyway. So when I was mentioning to him the Hilkas Talmud Torah from the Balatanya, very important to learn there, a big chiddush that you don't see in many svarim on halacha of Hilkas Talmud Torah. That him mentioning here in the Tanya, the idea of pardes, of being able to understand the Pnimis of Torah, the Peshat, Remez, Drosh, and Sod, to be able to go into the pardes of Torah, the 4 levels of Torah, to the extent of your mental capacity. And the key is that it says here, Ki yochel sagas shoresh nafsho lemala, to the extent of his mental capacity according to the supernal root of his soul. And this is really important, and it comes out in Hilkas Talmud Torah. That's why I'm bringing it up in Rav Shulchan Aruch. The idea that we have to, every person has to learn the chelik of Torah that's shaykh him, according to his ruach, his nefesh, according to his shoresh or neshama, where his soul is rooted in his chelik in Torah, and that is the key really to be Mekayim true Talmud Torah. It's not enough just to say, there's one shita. Everyone needs to learn Shas, Be'in, with Tosfos and Rashi, and that's like generally the cloud for yeshivas, and the world has taken that on generally. But then there's also the fact that there's Bekiyas Torah, there's Panimis Torah, there's all different ways of learning Torah, and there's no chesar, and it won't take away the kedusha and the fact that Shechina Shora, when you're learning Torah, especially your chelik of Torah. If you're learning this kind of Torah, you're tuned into the Torah's Hashem, the Torah of Hashem Yisbarach, which is the Vekas to Hashem Yisbarach. And we're going to learn this in the next parak Chamishi. Let's read out now parak Chamishi, and we'll go back and forth between these 2 parakim, because I think it's important. 2 chapters. HaTorah ha'achtis im HaKodesh Baruch Hu. Ma'luso ha'miyuchedesh al limud Torah. Yeah, the big milas, the special milas of learning Torah, Bod Shah ha-mitzvahs, and also furthermore all the rest of the mitzvahs, but kifim mitzvah adam levushim. Yeah, so when we learn all the other mitzvahs, we're connecting into the idea of levushim, clothing. They're the clothing of a person. But when we learn limit Torah, gam levushe, gam mozen, mitzachad mamish ima nefesh. So now we're connecting into the limit of Torah, which becomes the mozen of the person. This is really, really important. We're going to have to let's go into the actual parak now and look a little bit inside. So just in chapter 4, in the lesson Tanya 77, it says, "Ki havahi shorish ramach mitzvahs aseh min men nishachas balad elem kiyam amiti." The love is the root of the 248 mitzvahs, and we know that the year is the root of the 356 lota says. So we know that the panemius of a yid is Emunah in Hashem, to love Him and to fear Him, and this is the panemius of the mitzvahs aseh, mitzvahs lota say. Yeah, and that gives us ability to understand that the whole shorish of a yid was brought alive when we got the Torah, the original Kabbalah Torah. Anochi v'lo yeh lecha, the mitzvahs aseh, mitzvahs lo taseh, are included in the first mitzvah and the second mitzvah of I am Hashem your Lord, and I took you out of Mitzrayim, and then you should not have any other gods. Those two mitzvahs are the shorish, the root level. Anochi Hashem Elokech, that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, took us out of our restraints. He gave us a soul, He gave us a neshama, and every day we have to bring alive that neshama, go out of Mitzrayim, and not to have any other God. These are the root level of all mitzvahs, as mitzvahs lo taseh. And these connect to the fact that organs of the king, says the Tanya. So we're going to talk about that again later on. The idea that 248 mitzvahs is the life force. We have the 365 prohibitive commandments, or you feel ashamed before God's greatness, you not rebel against all sides of Hashem. Called Teves Hashem Moshe Soina and Teves. Yeah, and we're going to talk about this in a minute. These just throw in a few important concepts, but the idea of these shells and the shells of the other side, we're going to get into that in the 6th chapter. The idea that once you get involved with that and doing those horrible things that Hashem hates, that pulls you into the other side and these shells that block a person and create a disconnect on some level, and not completely, never completely, but just on some level. Then he goes on to say, obviously, we have to go through the whole thing deeply. It's very deep, and we're just doing a summary as we remind ourselves. This is just a summary. He calls it Gavor v'Godala. Yeah, Malasam la'ein kates. Yeah, it says here, it's just ein kates. There's no end to what we're trying to do here in terms of the panemius of it. That the Torah and the Holy One best be are truly one, and that's what the Zohar Kodesh says. The Reis Kodesh Baruch Hu Yisrael as well. It says in a different place, Kulu Chad, perish the Reis Hi Chachmas Rason Kodesh Baruch Hu Kvod V'Atzma Kulu Chad. Yes, the Torah's wisdom is the will of Hashem. So we're learning Torah, learning the will of Hashem, learning Torah's Hashem is one with His glory and essence. Ki Hu Yuduehu Mada K'mach Kosev Le'el B'Shem Rambam, and He is the knowledge and the knowing. This famous Rambam. Yeah, and we're learning God's intellect. That's one with God Himself. So when a Jew learns, he's becoming united, mamish with his soul and his Torah and with Hashem Yisbarach. The Kodesh Baruch Hu Nikra Ein Sof. It goes saying Heika Mash Tfisa Beiklau. Came to Chamosa, and His will is unfathomable. Kiksiv Ein Heika Levanoso. Kiksiv Heika Lekamim Timsa. Ki Lo Machshavim Mashav Seichem. It's very important that we say this. We say that thing on a fast day, but my thoughts are not your thoughts. Yeah. There's no searching for His understanding, as it says in Yeshaya, in the Eob. And you will search to Him, God will find you. The idea that it's very compressed, as David Jerome was saying, there's these many transmigrations till it comes into our seichel. And we have to remember that when we're learning, every time we're learning Tanya, we have to have that humility that we're learning the highest wisdom. We're trying to bring it down into our seichel, our wisdom. And 2023, during a war, my son 8 weeks in Gaza and everything else going on in life, and it's hard, but even back in that time, sure, it was hard in Europe. The Baal Tanya brought down its wisdom into the world of the Holy Sefer Tanya. And we have to remember the point of the Tanya was to answer up all the questions of the Hashem, of His Chassidim, who wanted to come close to Him and put it into a Sefer that we could concretize and bring like the Torah Shabbat Peh of Chassidus alive through the Torah Shabbat Ksav of Chassidus, which is the Tanya. And that's why when I'm looking at the Chitas, I see it's written in such a way. It's like a Chumash. It's like the Torah Shabbat Ksav of Chassidus. So you go into Chitas is very important. I just want to remind everyone that my son, one of the beautiful things was when I went back to London, I'll be going there again on January the 7th. Anyone wants to meet up? It's not so long away now, a few weeks away. And my son, when I mentioned him to Rav Levi Sudak, he's Nachman Sudak's, I think, oldest son, and Nachman Sudak was the first shliach sent by the Rebbe, and he was sent to England. And the son is a very big influence where I grew up in Edgware, and I went to see him, and he gave me, Rav Suda gave me this chitas from his own collection, like it was one of his own chitas, and he said, give this to your son, Baruch Yitzchak B'Mesher, and he'll put it in his army thing, and he has it with him now, even in time of war. He has it, the chitas with him as a segula for Shmira, plus it has all the different books your person needs in terms of the Chumash and the Siddur and Tehillim and Tanya and Yom Yom and all the other amazing things that it's in this beautiful sefer, the Chitas. So there's opportunities here to get a lot of chizuk and to do chesed with it and to give us the ability to connect and miyached ourselves with Hashem Yisbarach by learning the Torah. And Kach Torah Yereded Mokum Kavod says on page 83 in the lessons in Tanya that the Torah is ascended from its place of glory. We know that Torah is connected to water. It's the idea of coming down to the lowest places. And God's will and wisdom Torah is beyond some regions made accessible because the Torah is clothed in physical terms. 1 hour of tshuva is better than the whole life of world to come. Ki olam habahu shenenem eziv shchina shu tanu gasaga yeshel shum nivra filu be'elyonim hasig im eza ha'arma or havaya kei nitka b'shem ziv shchina aber kodesh baruch hu kavodo v'atzma leis machshav tevisa be'klau. And that's the idea that no one can comprehend Hashem. So when we're talking about levushim, it's like the melech wearing all these clothing, and you're not really hugging the melech, you're hugging his clothing. But when you learn the Torah, you mamish become Davik. Kamosha Kosev Yameni Tabecheni, She a Torah, She Nisna Beyamin, She Bechinas Chesed V'Mayim. We mentioned this before, that Torah is Chesed and it's water. So it comes all the way down into our minds, into our hearts. But now the next point, before we finish off to today's weekly summary and of the Sefer, very important, chapter 5 that we mentioned before when we did the Bekitzer summary, the idea that the Torah is mazon for the Jewish neshama. Like every soul needs to learn Torah. Without Torah, we don't have spiritual sustenance. So everyone needs to nourish their soul through learning Torah, and that's through Talmud Torah. And once again, we learned before, there's a whole beautiful section of the Shulchan Aruch Harav how Torah should be learned, and all the different levels of Torah. We said Pardes, Shatram is Josh Soid. Each person needs to find his chelek or her chelek of Torah, and to nourish their soul. It could be shame lechem mazon hanefesh is on page 94. It's called bread and food of the soul. Lechem agashmi zan it's a guf. Lisa b'tochu here by mamish. Ahevesham liot dam v'basuk b'soy. Just as physical weight gives us, the flesh and the blood and the energy, the nourishment that we need. As a yichia is kaim, and only then will the body live and be sustained. Torah Torah by the soul with the concentration of the intellect, and then we start by learning so deeply, we start to get to the point where the Torah is grasped in the mind and is joined with him, and he becomes one with the Torah. That becomes food of the soul. You have to learn really properly. So in a way, everyone is in agreement that whatever you learn, you have to learn it be'in, you have to learn it deep. Even the Bekir on some level has to be learned deep, has to make a roshim, has to influence. Chaim Bekir Ber Mechai Chaim, Ein Sof Hu Mabesh B'Chochmas B'Svasa Bekir Ber. And this is the idea, the fountain of light, the Ein Sof, the code of wisdom of Torah that are in the soul of the student. Says your Torah is in my inner parts. You have to bring it into your kishkas, as they say in Yiddish. Yeah. Shabusha Neshamas Began Eden Hein HaMitzvahs. These are the mitzvahs. The Shema Hainu Kedei Lekasha Nafshel Hashem Aidei Sagas Torah. We have to learn it for its own sake. One of the things that someone said from Yitzhak Ginsburg, one of the sons of Dr. Udeman, said to me, he said the idea that Shalom is the same osius as Shem Lo. We're doing it L'Shem to him, to his name, to Hashem. We're learning Torah. To bring Shalom to the world, we need to learn Torah Lishma. We have to bring the aspect of Sar Shalom the concept of Melech Mashiach, the concept of these 8 days of Hanukkah is connected to Pelei Yoetz Avi Giba Ad Sar Shalom. My Rebbe brought down from Leib Eiger, the idea of the Sar Shalom, the Shalom that brings Mashiach, the Shalom that will bring Shalom to the world, Shalom Bayah, Shalom in Ba'aret, Shalom in each person's nefesh. It's going to come from the Shema. It has to go together. So when we're learning Torah, we have to try and learn it the Shema for the sake of Hashem. Hamazon bechinas or penimi, abushas bechinas makifim, lechin amar Talmud Torah shirkul keneged kol mitzvahs. So when you learn Torah, we already learn Talmud Torah keneged kulam. We say it every day. It's keneged all the mitzvahs. And levushim levad Torah mazon gam levushim nefesh on mitzvahs. So we see from this parak how choshev it is beyond words how much we need to learn Torah, because then we be'emes be'amiyachid with Hashem. He's bringing from Eitz Chaim. Yeah, very deep concepts, and we'll have to discuss that more. But I mean, personally, just tell a quick story before we end off with Perek 6. And we're going to have to be careful with this one, because then we start to get into, and we'll see what the summary says, but we're starting to get into a bit more of the challenge, because right now we're focusing more on the godly soul, but there's also, we have the Nefesh Bahamas, we have the part that's, fighting with us, and this is part of the struggle of the Beinani and Sefer Beinani. So just to tell a story, when I was first doing tshuva, I came across a book called Celestine Prophecy. I don't recommend anyone getting it, but there was an akudah that if I hadn't got it at that time in my life, I was very far, I needed to have something which would explain this concept of Or Makif and divine providence, Hashgacha Pratis. And this is what this book did do, that there is a flow in life. Nothing's not whatever, and that flow brings us together as souls. And the concept of Or Makif, there's a surrounding light. I'm going to teach tomorrow B'nai Akiva. I'm going to mention this concept of the flow, and the fact that each person really has a light surrounding them, and that drew me to the understanding there's an neshama around every person, and that Or Makif is giving us the potential to become more neshamadik, more soulful, more connected to our purpose in this world, become a bigger version of ourselves. Let's see what it says, the summary of Vav, and then Perek Vav, and then we'll just start at the beginning, and we'll continue next week with Perek Vav, this next chapter. Vuna hanefesh abahemes b'kabu delezu shal nefesh alikus aval mechaven v'neged gam la'asar koches. Shalosh doesn't say here so good the writing, but basically you get the 3 levels of the intellect and 3 levels of emotions, but according to the other side, and they come down into the machshava diba ma'aser she'enim sorech avodas Hashem. And that's the problem. There's the 10 aspects of klippers of the nefesh, and the kurs are the opposite, because everything has to be balanced. Almighty created one thing opposite the other. You have Yaakov, you have Esav, you have nefesh elikus, and you have the lower level, the nefesh the sitra of the other side. Kipenoga Moshes bedama odem, klula me'esa kisrin demisavusa. These are the 10 crowns of impurities. One of the times I have in mind with those, the Sar b'nei Haman, shechting those 10 sons of Haman. On Purim coming up, the next Chag, we have the opportunity to get rid of those 10 unholy emanations. Sheva midas ras, these are the bad midas, like lust and severity, boastfulness, all these kind of things. Haboas ma'abi sodas rhyme, and they come from the 4 foundations of what we mentioned already many times. This idea that creation there's fire, earth, wind, water. So each one has a representation in a negative sense. Obviously, we can elevate them, like we're going to learn in the Tanya. My hope is, we will stop here, is the idea of by connecting ourselves more and more to the godly soul, we really will turn around a lot of problems in our life. We'll nourish our soul. We'll have more energy to serve Hashem, which is what we're here for. We're here to serve Hashem. We're here to do avodas Hashem, and part of the way we do avodas Hashem is by having clarity, and the clarity comes from learning the Torah. Torah gives the nourishment to the soul, gives us the energy spiritually, better do our tafkid, do our mission, and our shlichus, as the Rebbe would say. And each of us has our own unique shlichus, our own chelik in Torah, our own opportunity to how to nourish the soul and how to feel fulfillment in this world. Each person needs to work on themselves and daven to Hashem, pray to Hashem to have clarity with what that chelik is, what that tafkid is, to be able to fulfill it, and to be able to have emunah that everything Hashem does is good and will be good, as Vorish teachers will be going into the next few days when we do our normal seders, Sadarim in the Kutimaron, Vaita with a beautiful Torah. We were talking about thanking Hashem. We thank Hashem for the opportunity to learn Tanya and make a yichud between the Tanya and Rabbi Nachman and all the other Sifrei Chassidus and Also here, just as I walked in, Shlomo was learning with Cook, and all the tzaddikim I make kulam tzaddikim, all the tzaddikim together. And Baruch Hashem, yesterday I was by Sofas Basilis, just end off at this point, and it was beautiful to see how all the light of everyone combined created such a tremendous awe in the Beis Midrash, and a simcha and a singing. I wasn't able to stay for the rum part, but I got the soul part, the light, the lit up part, the neshama that we got from Hanukkah. We have to take that with us. It was Malava Malcha, so it's Hanukkah Tish. We bring that with us into now the days of Teves. Light up these days. We've got Rabbi Noson's Yotzai and Asara Teves, the 10th of Teves. So we have the schus of Rabbi Nachman's Talmud. We'll be learning from him soon. And also we have the opportunity to prepare now for Shovavim, V'yigash, V'yechi, Masayim, Sefer Bereshis, with Chizuk, Rach Chazak Niyamatz, and the Gili of Yosef Asadik, Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David, and Bevara, both of those Nakudas, we mentioned that by Meishalach Shlir, by Rav Shlomo, and also during his Zerah Shimshon Shir, Bevara, both the Nasham of Yosef and Yehuda to Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David. See that Begillah, see the Nefesh HaLekus be fully revealed, and all of Christ are Amen, Amen, and a good Zinta winter, healthy days ahead. Amen, and only good news. Thank you for joining us. Oh, we went, wow, 30 more minutes. Okay, we got a bit extra today, Baruch Hashem. Bit more awe.